Welcome back to the show. Well, we've now hopped over to the European Commission to speak with Ms. Violeta Bulc, Commissioner for Transport from Slovenia. Ms. Bulc, welcome to the show. Now, I believe you're a trained shamam, you've a black belt in Taekwondo, a background in telecommunications, and you entered politics just a month or so before being nominated as your country's Commissioner. That was back, of course, in 2014. At the time, you said that getting the EU to work well would be of direct benefit for Slovenia, a very pro-EU stance then at that time. Today, the EU is struggling on many levels, notably the issue of refugees. Your home country has made recent amendments to the Alien Act, something that has caused fear among many, even the Council of Europe, NGOs like Amnesty International. They fear that you're taking away, the country is denying asylum seekers or refugees their fundamental rights, that they won't be allowed in, that their cases won't be assessed, that they'll be refused before the case are assessed. Breaking international rules?
Well, it's really hard to comment on any law that is still in progress, so the European Commission will wait until the final version of the proposal and the law is accepted, and then, of course, we will comment on it. But I do believe that every member state try to act in the best possible way to, in one hand, really contribute to the European agenda, on the other hand, to make sure that they ensure their own country to be safe, secure for the citizens.
Well, before we go any further, let's take a look at the latest news on that refugee and migration issue, as many, despite the below freezing temperatures, are still trying to travel through and get to what they hope will be a better life.
This Greek military vessel, the Nissos Lesbos, will host about 500 migrants whose camp tents have been flattened by heavy snow. But of the 16,000 migrants currently blocked on Greek islands, many will remain in flimsy canvas tents in freezing temperatures.
Under zero. The weather's under zero. You know what, the snow is very, very strong. Look, we don't have anything for like fire, anything inside the tent.
Over the past few days, parts of Greece have seen some of the heaviest snowfall in years, with temperatures in most of the Aegean islands dropping. For NGOs, the situation in Lesbos is a proof that the EU-Turkey refugee deal, which aims to address the overwhelming flow of migrants traveling from Turkey to the Greek islands, is simply not working.
That people are paying the price of European policies aimed at stopping people from arriving in Europe. So we need to stop trying to preserve at all costs this deal, which is the EU-Turkey deal, which is putting people's lives at risk. And we need to treat people in a dignified, humane way and provide them the assistance that they need.
Warmer weather is set to return to Greece this week, but the issue of what to do with more than 60,000 migrants currently in the country remains unsolved.
Ms. Bulc, looking there at, horrific conditions, the EU has failed really miserably to find a common solution to this refugee and migration crisis last year. Any hope that you think things will improve, that the Club of 28 will finally get it together?
Well, first of all, these weather conditions, of course, surprised everyone, citizens, but it caused a lot of challenges for refugees, especially. They're not used to this kind of conditions, and it's really hard for day-to-day life to face really the cold, the snow, the lack of fire, as they say, warm clothes and everything. But I would like to bring a bit more systemic perspective to this, because if EU wants to react, it really has to react in a sustainable manner. And I do believe that we've done incredible job so far, and it started to pay off. And maybe just a couple of arguments. First of all, the challenge was with the relocation, and the challenge was with allocating the proper funds in order to address the most critical projects. We've done that. 10,000 refugees have been relocated so far.
10,000 out of 160,000, which was just a fraction of the amount arriving.
Exactly. It's hard, but finally the culture, the solidarity in EU is wakening up. I mean, we had several political challenges in order to overcome also this prejudice, if I may say, but I think it's working. We started to really deliver, and I can only hope that other instruments will deliver even better.
Do you think even countries like Hungary and who have totally been against taking any refugees, are they starting to come on board, do you think?
It's hard for me to judge particular countries, but let me encourage you with some other elements which I believed in, especially. I do believe that this refugee crisis had to be addressed where it is actually happening. And the latest announcement of the President Juncker of the special investment plan for the countries outside EU, which especially the countries where there are political instabilities, where there is no economical growth. I hope that with the investment plans we can create jobs, we can create employment opportunities, growth.
That's more needed for the economic migrants.
Exactly.
They won't be as tempted to leave.
Political, because political unrest happen where there is no also economical opportunities. So I do believe that with these long-term steps we will make a difference. Currently, of course, there are projects. 15 billion euros has been allocated to address the crisis of refugees. We have targeted projects now. The agreement with Turkey, even though it was critical in your report, but I can say that once we defined legal cross-borders, thousands of illegal immigrants are now really dropped into maybe 50, 80 per day. So things are improving. We are putting together a much better asylum politics. We do control.
Do you think we might get a common asylum politics in the EU?
Yes, this is a goal for this year. It is in preparation, and I believe we will be able to deliver it this year. At the same time, we have better control of documents at the border and basically better allocate people. We have economical migration, which has different rules than refugees, and we need to separate them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this was all messed up in one big flow of people. It was really frustrating. I was there. I went to see the cross borders with Slovenia when it was really hard. I mean, people worked in the incredible conditions, people coming in thousands and thousands. I mean, Slovenia got overflown with refugees at one point. But then more systemic approach has started to take place. And I know that based on the pictures, it is hard. But we have to work together. The only way that we can address this is, first, that EU has a very strong common policy, and the other hand, that we work with other nations out of Europe, that we really resolve war zones. Because if there is no war zones, there is no refugees. And I'm very much driven by that. And transport plays an important role in that.
Well, I'm hoping your optimism and positivity will prove through in the very early months of this year. Migration, of course, really playing a lot into the hands of anti-EU and very nationalist political parties across the bloc. We have general elections coming up in, a number of the founding countries of the EU. Do you think that those anti-EU parties could take power?
Well, this is happening already. There is no doubt about it that they are gaining in power. But in order to really understand these movements and to address them properly, we need to go again back to the source of it. And I believe that this is a consequence of economical crisis that hit EU like many other parts of the world, and we are just getting seriously out of it. It's a good news. This year, for the first time, all EU member states will encounter a GDP growth, which means that all member states are picking up this new momentum. They're strengthening the economical frameworks. It is a very moderate growth, but it's been sustainable, which means it has hope for the future. At the same time, of course, we do have to address the social discrepancies that happen. We were hit by Greek crisis, we were hit by refugee, we were hit by terrorism. All that happened in the last few years. Of course, all these were major challenges that EU has not experienced before. And of course, this plays directly into the hands of populists, because people are more and more unsatisfied. With each of these elements that I mentioned, somebody got hit and somebody became unhappy. So I hope that with a very concrete plans, with a very firm plans, and especially, for example, with a very concrete project for the youth, that we will be able to bring back the values of EU, hope, which is the biggest strength and power in order to really work for a common good. And I really count on the youth to be on board for that.
As you mentioned, there are a number of crises really hitting the EU all at the one time. Terrorism was, of course, another one. And that can also be used by those anti-establishment parties. The European Commission, however, has released documents saying that the transport networks across Europe, such as flights, trains, ferries, are increasingly vulnerable to cyber attacks. They say, notably flights. What exactly do you think the risks are, and what can be done about them?
Look, of course, transport is an easy target, unfortunately, because it's so vital for every country, for every system, that until it works properly, nobody notices. But if transport stops, everything stops. This, of course, is known also by the negative forces that want to use that. So if you ask me if there is 100% security, there is none. But we really try. We try hard with every time with the sustainable step-by-step improvements, and I'm confident that we are going in the right direction. Aviation is probably the strongest in security at this point, but even aviation was vulnerable. We realized that with the unfortunate events in Brussels, that actually the area before the security zones got attacked. So we are improving that direction. It is jurisdiction of member states, but we work in a coordinated manner to address this issue. You know that railways were hit. Yes, and we didn't have any common policy on land modes, so it was all the jurisdiction of member states. But now we're putting together some sort of European position on that, and of course led by member states, but we want to have a common understanding how to really address the security issues on railways and land.
What would that mean, a common kind of land protection on railways? Would that mean that we have to go through security things like at the airport? And I mean, a lot of people do wonder how putting liquid into a freezer bag actually protects us in any way, shape or form.
Well, what my job is really to keep all the activities proportionate to the risk. This is a very strong position that we have, but at the same time ensure that transport stays open, that stays available. But at the same time, of course, we are looking for new ways how to improve the security. And we found a combination of some regulatory actions that are basically on the level of member states and strong recommendations that come from EU level. For example, how to train better employees, how to use new technologies in order to be more responsive, to be more perceptive, how to use new technologies in order to improve security, how to exchange information better. And I think here is a huge opportunity for EU to really better exchange basic information, but also intelligence information. So we are making steps. I'm not saying we've done everything. We're learning every day. We're alert all the time, but I can see a huge difference a few years ago when this was not a crucial topic, and today when this is a serious talk on a day-to-day basis.
Finding that balance between usability and security, which isn't always easy. Well, moving from planes to what I believe you have once described as the future of flying. It is drones. I believe there's plans to draft legislation on commercial drones to ensure, you know, people's security, their privacy, noise pollution levels. That's being done at a European level, or is that not something for national sovereignty?
Well, here I'm really happy because in the early stages, we really, at the beginning of this commission, we grabbed the topic and we are preparing EU framework, EU legislation on drones, which is part of the new regulation of EASA, entire reshape of EASA safety regulations. I'm hoping that this will be passed through a trialogue this spring. And if that is the case, by 2019, EU will have a EU-based common framework.
Will everybody be allowed use their drones over my balcony, for example?
Not exactly. We're very much concerned about the citizens' concerns, which is noise, safety, privacy. So we want to make sure that the rules will be proportionate to the service that is used. If, for example, if the drone is flying over a field of corn, of course, the safety and security elements are completely different if the drone is used in urban areas. That's why I'm quite proud we defined sort of a system innovation, so-called U-space, which is urban space, which we will define a special area in the space, in the air that will be used for urban aviation.
What level in?
Exactly,
okay, that they can't
a new
go
type,
above.
yes, that doesn't exist, but it will be used for all kinds of flying objects, if you allow me to talk a bit more futuristic, which could be flying cars, drones, and we are very much now working with a group of scientists to prepare it properly on a systemic level, and I hope by the end of the year we will have the first draft.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not so sure I'm a fan of this idea of a future with drones flying in every which way and direction. Very briefly, we're looking in the first half of Talking Europe at the issue of social dumping, and the transport sector looks like it's one of the worst hit. One thing we're looking at, truck drivers, their employment status can sometimes cross as many borders as they do as they cross the country. There was look to reform that area. Where are we?
Well, we are advancing really really well. We have now a strong opinions of different member states who have slightly different positions. For example, France, Germany, Bulgaria, Romania, Poland, Scandinavian countries. We just completed our public consultation, which was incredible response. So it will take a couple of weeks before we can analyze everything, but I can already tell you that we're preparing a very strong road package where we will really address not only social differences and try to find a common understanding how these social elements can be addressed in a single market, but also we will take on board some possibilities of a common e-tolling, European e-tolling system, digitalization of road, and also some further opening of European road market. So a very exciting year for road mode this year.
Indeed, that sounds like quite a lot happening there. Very finally, Ms. Bulc, this weekend we see a Slovenian take her place as the First Lady in the United States. Something to be proud of?
Well, I really wish her a lot of luck, a lot of strength, and I hope she will have some privacy as well.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it at that. We're out of time for this edition of Talking Europe. Ms. Bulc, thanks so much for your time. Thanks also, of course, to you at home for having watched. See you again next week.